Daf Yomi, Berakhot, Daf Mem Aleph Amud Aleph, 41a. We're talking about blessings, and what's the proper order for saying blessings. The Mishnah cited a dispute with regard to the order in which one is supposed to recite the blessings when Hayu lefanav minin harbe, when there were many types of food before him. Rabbi Yehuda says there's one of the 7 species for which the land of Israel is praised. Among them, he recites the first blessing over it. And the rabbis say he recites a blessing over whichever one of them he wants. Amar Ula, machloket b'shar, machloket b'sh birchotehen shavot. The Rabbi Yehuda savar min shiva adif, Rabbanan savar min chaviv adif. Rabbi Yehuda says, Ula says, according to Ula, this dispute is specifically a case where the blessings recited over each type of food that are the same. When the blessings are the same, for instance, you have an apple and an olive, and they're both borei priya eitz. So if the blessings are the same, in that case, Rabbi Yehuda says the type of the 7 species would take precedence. In fact, for instance, with the apple and the olive would take species because the olive is one of the 7 species and the apple is not. But Rabbanan Savri min chaviv adif. The rabbis hold that the preferred type takes precedence. So if you wanted the apple more than the olive, you bench over the apple first. Aval b'she'en birchotehen shavot divrei hakol mevarech al zeh v'chozer mevarech al zeh. However, when their blessings are not the same, everyone agrees that one must bless over this type of food and then recite the blessing over another type of food, ensuring that the appropriate blessing is recited over each type of food. So let's say, according to halacha, the practical law, there are 2 opinions about the halachic ruling in this case. According to the Rosh, the halacha is according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. It's explained in the Gemara, when, with regard to fruits which require the same blessing, one recites over the item of the 7 species first, and because in that case, the Rabbi Yehuda agrees with the rabbis. But if none of the food before him were from the 7 species, one recites a blessing over whichever one he prefers, whichever one he likes better. According to the second opinion, the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis, that you always bench over the one you like more. And if he likes them both the same, he recites over the blessing over the 7 species first. So the halachic conclusion is basically unclear. The Mishnah Berurah likes the first opinion more. And others say you can choose whichever position you want. Meisive, hayu lefanav tznon v'zayet, mavarech al tznon ufoter v'zayet. Hachal ma'eskinan kishet tznon ikar. The Gemara raises an objection based on a braita. If a radish and an olive were before him, he recites a blessing over the radish and exempts the olive from the requirements of a blessing, although their blessings are different. The Gemara answers, what are we dealing with here? We're dealing with the case where the radish was the primary component for the one partaking of them, and the olives were merely secondary, only to temper the taste of the radish. Therefore, he need recite a blessing only over the radish. Ihachi Ema Sefer Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mevarech al Zayed sheZayed mimin shiva v'leit leRabbi Yehuda haditanan kol shehu ikar v'imot tefela mevarech al ikar ufoter tefela. The Gemara continues and asks, if so, the latter clause of the Braita where Rabbi Yehuda says one recites a blessing over the olive, as the olive is a type of the 7 species, does Rabbi Yehuda not accept the principle which you learned in a Mishnah? Any food that is primary and is eaten with a food that is secondary, one recites the blessing over the primary food? And the blessing exempts the secondary food from the requirements of a blessing before eating it? V'kitema hachinami deleitle. And if you say, indeed, he does not hold that the primary food exempts the secondary, v'hatanya, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, im mechamat tznon b'hazayet mevarech al tznon ufoter hazayet. Rabbi Yehuda, but wasn't it taught in a Braita? Doesn't he hold that the primary food exempts the secondary? And wasn't it taught in a Braita that Rabbi Yehuda says, if it is due to the radish, if it is due to the radish that the olive comes, one recites a blessing over the radish and exempts the olive. If so, the dispute whether to recite a blessing over the radish or olive must be a case in which the radish is not primary. Therefore, there's the apparent contradiction of Ula's statement. Be'olam bitznon ikar askina. So the Gemara responds, actually we're dealing with a case where the radish is the primary component of the meal. V'ki pligi Rabbi Yehuda v'Rabbanan b'milta achariti pligi. And when Rabbi Yehuda and the rabbis were disputing, they were disputing over a different case. V'chasori mechsara v'hachikatani. And the Braita was incomplete, and it should read as follows. V'hayu lefanav tznon v'zayit. Mavarech al tznon v'foteret l'zayit. If a radish and an olive were before him, he blesses over the radish and he exempts the olive. In which case does this apply? Kishahatznon ikar. That is a case where the radish was the primary food. Ein atznon ikar divrei hakol mevarech al zeh v'chozer mevarech al zeh. But if the radish is not primary, everyone agrees that he says a blessing over this, and then he goes and says a blessing over that one. However, in general, if two types of food were the exact same blessing, then he recites a blessing over whichever one he wants. Rabbi Yehuda says he says the blessing over the olive because the olive comes from the 7 species. Pligi ba Rabbi Ami v'Rabbi Yitzchak napach. Chadamar machloket b'shibirchot and shavot v'Rabbi Yehuda savar min shiva adif v'Rabbanan savre min chaviv adif aval b'she'en birchot and shavot divrei kol mevarech al zeh v'chozer mevarech al zeh v'chadamar af b'she'en birchot and shavot nami machloket. Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Yitzchak Napacha disagree with regard to this subject. One says this dispute is a case where the blessings are indeed identical. And as Rabbi Yehuda held, a type of the 7 species takes precedence and the blessing over it is recited first. And the rabbis held the preferred type takes precedence. And a blessing is recited over it first, one you want first. However, when their blessings are not identical, everyone agrees that you recite a blessing appropriate over this one, and then you recite the appropriate blessing over that one. And one said, even when their blessings are not identical, there is also a dispute. The Gemara discussed, granted, according to the one who says that the dispute is the case where their blessings are identical, it works out well. Ela lamanda amar b'shein birchoten shavot pligi b'may pligi amar Rabbi Yirmiyah lahakdim. However, according to the one who says they disagree in a case where their blessings are not identical, then about what do they disagree? One must recite 2 blessings in any case. Rabbi Yomi said they disagree with regard to which blessing precedes the other one. Zamar Rav Yosef item Rabbi Yitzchak kol hamukdam b'fasuk zeh mukdam bivracha shenemar eretz chita usora v'gefen v'te'ena v'rimon eretz zet shemen udvash. As Rav Yosef and some say Rabbi Yitzchak said, each food whose significance is manifest in that it precedes the others in the verse, which sings the praises of the land of Israel, takes precedence over the others in terms of blessing. In other words, whichever comes first in the verse, that takes precedence if you have a number of the different species mentioned in the verse together before you. The verse says, a land of wheat, barley, vine, figs, pomegranates, a land of olive and honey, in Deuteronomy 8. So, Ufliga de Rabbi Chanan, Amar Rabbi Chanan, Kol hapasuk kulo l'shi'urin ne'amar. The Gemara notes that this opinion disagrees with the opinion of Rabbi Chanan. As Rabbi Chanan said, the entire verse was stated for the purpose of teaching the measures with regard to the different halachot in the Torah. Chita tzitzanan hanichnas levet bait menuga v'kelav al ktefav v'sandalav v'tabotav v'yadav hu v'hen mitmein miyad. Wheat is mentioned as the basis for calculating the time required for one to become ritually impure by entering a house affected with leprosy. As we learn in the Mishnah, one who enters a house afflicted with leprosy of the house, with his clothes resting on his shoulders, and his sandals and his rings in his hand, both he and they, the clothes, sandals, and the rings, immediately become ritually impure. Haya lavush kelav v'sandalav beraglav v'tabotav v'etzbaotav hu tameh miyad v'hen torin ad shiyeh bichte achilat pras pat chitin v'lo pat surin mesev ochlin beliftan. However, if he was dressed in his clothes, and his sandals were on his feet, and his rings were on his fingers, he immediately becomes ritually impure upon entering the house. But they, the clothes, the sandals, and the rings, remain pure until he stays in the house long enough to eat half a loaf of bread. This calculation is made with wheat bread, which takes less time to eat, and not with barley bread. And also, this measurement is said with regard to one who's reclining in eating the bread with a relish, with a dip, a liftan, which hastens the eating. There is then a Torah measurement that is connected specifically to wheat. Seorah, the verse mentions seorah or barley. D'tanan etzem ki seorah metameh b'maga uv'masa ve'enu metameh b'ol. Barley is also used as a basis for measurement with regards to ritual impurity. As we learned in the Mishnah, a bone from the corpse that is taken, and the bone is the size of a grain of barley, imparts ritual impurity through contact and by being carried, but does not impart impurity by means of a tent. That is to say, if the bone were inside a house or another house-like structure, a tent-like structure, it does not defile all of the articles in the house. Geffen, what kind of measurement does geffen or vine come to teach us? Kedei revi'it yayin lenazir. The halachic measurement which determined by vines is the quantity of a quarter log of wine for a Nazirite, and not the wine equivalent for a log of water, which is a significantly different measure. So a Nazirite, in other words, a Nazirite who drank a quarter log of wine or any other product of the vine is punished with the lashes as per the Mishnah. So that's how much does he need to drink to be punished? A quarter log of wine. Te'ena kigrogeret lahotzi Shabbat. Figs serve as the basis of the measure of a dried fig bulk, typically the smallest unit of food for which someone will be held liable for carrying on Shabbat from domain to domain, from the private domain to the public, or vice versa. Kedetanan kol kle va'ale vatim. As it is, Rimon, the pomegranates teach us Kedetanan kol kle va'ale vatim. Pomegranates teach us a particular measurement as well as we learned in the Mishnah. All ritually impure wooden utensils belonging to ordinary homeowners become pure through breaking the utensil. Shiuran karimon. And as an impure vessel loses its status as a vessel after it's broken, and consequently its impurity when it can it's impure, and it also loses its state of impurity when it can no longer be used. If it had holes in it, that's if it had a hole in it the size of a pomegranate. Again, what did I say? Pomegranates. So ritually impure wooden utensils belonging to ordinary homeowners, could be purified through breaking. So an impure vessel, if it has the hole in it the size of a pomegranate, it's no longer impure. Eretz Zeit Shemen, a land of olive oil. Amar Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina Eretz Shekol Shiureda Kazetim. Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Chanina, said that this verse, referring to olive oil, should be expounded as follows: a land all of whose measures are the size of olives. The Gemara asks a question: Eretz Shekol Shiurea Kazetim, Kol Shiurea Salka Datach. Could it enter your mind that all of the measures in the land of Israel are everything measured in the land of Israel is measured by the size of an olive? Don't we have other measurements? V'ha'ika hanafta amran. But we have all of these other size of measurements that are not the size of olives. Ela eretz shirov shiurea kazetim. Rather, a land most of whose measurements are the size of olives. Dvash. What is honey? That is to say, dates from which date honey is extracted. How is that used for measurement? kakotevet tagasa b'yom kippurim. With regard to Yom Kippur, one is only liable if he eats the equivalent of a large date, kotevet tagasa, on Yom Kippur. Ve'idach, and the Gemara asks, and with what will the other Amora, who interpreted the verse referring to the halachot of precedence in blessings, say with regard to this midrash? The Gemara responds, Hane shi'urin behedya mi kativi. The Gemara responds, are these measurements written explicitly in the Torah? Ele midirabanan ukara asmachta ba'alma. Rather, these are by rabbinic law, and the verse is a mere support to teach the measurements in the rabbinic law. Apparently, according to the conclusion of the Gemara, even Rabbi Chanan holds that the verse was not stated with regard to measurements. The measurements are halacha transmitted to Moses from Mount Sinai, and the use of the verse in this context is merely for mnemonic support, in order to remember which measurements go to, are derived from which species. Rav Chisda v'Rav Hamnuna havu yatve bisudata. The Rav Chisda and Rav Hamnuna were sitting at a meal. Aitu lekamayhu tamre v'rimone. They brought before them dates and pomegranates. Shakal Rav Hamnuna Shakal Rav Hamnuna barech atamare beresha. Rav Hamnuna took and recited a blessing over the dates first. Amar le Rav Chisda lo sevir le mar lahada Amar Rav Yosef itema Rabbi Yitzchak kol hamukdam b'pasuk ze kodem livracha. Doesn't the master not hold that the halacha, according to the halacha which Rav Yosef and some say Rabbi Yitzchak said, that each food that precedes the others in the verse takes precedence in terms of blessings as well? So he had a pomegranate and a date, and he ate the date first. But the pomegranate precedes the date in the verse. Amar le ze sheni le'eretz, ze chamishi le'eretz. Rav Hamnuna said to him, the date mentioned is second to the word land. In the verse, a land of olive and oil and honey. Just as the olive and this pomegranate is the fifth to the word land. Man yahiv lan nigre de farzala u neshama inach. Rav Chisda said to him admiringly, who will give us iron legs that we may serve you and constantly hear from your novel ideas? So one recites a blessing first, halacha l'maaseh, practical halacha, one recites a blessing first over the species, most closely following the word land, both times it appears in the verse that enumerates the 7 species. But this principle does not apply to dishes of cooked grain or wine, as they have their own blessings and take precedence. Itmar, heviu lifneim te'enim anavim b'toch hasuda. Amar Rav Huna tu'unim bracha lifnehem ve'en tu'unim bracha lacharehem. It was stated, if they brought figs and grapes before them during a meal, what blessing needs to be recited? Rav Huna said they require a blessing before eating them, but they do not require a blessing after eating them, as the grace after meal exempts them. V'chein amar Rav Nachman tu'unim bracha lifneim ve'en tu'unim bracha lacharehem. Rav Nachman said they require a blessing before eating them, and they do not require a blessing after eating them. Rav Sheshet amar tu'unim bracha ben lifneim ben lacharehem. Rav Sheshet said they require a blessing both before eating them and after eating them, even if he ate them during the meal. She'ein lecha davar she'ta'un bracha lefanav ve'en tu'un bracha lacharav elefata ba'ab b'chisanin bilvad. Because, why does Rav Sheshet hold in that way? Because they require blessing both before and after them, even if you ate them during the meal, as you have nothing which requires a blessing before eating it that does not require a blessing after eating it. Because it is exempted by the grace after meals, everything requires a blessing before and after except bread, a sweetened and spicy pastry, that comes as a dessert. That's pata ba bekisni, a sweet or spicy type of bread. Ufliga l'Rabbi Chia de Amar Rabbi Chia pat poteret kol minei ma'achal v'yayin poter kol minei mashkin. The statements of both Rav Huna and Rav Sheshet disagree with the opinion of Rabbi Chia. As Rabbi Chia said, bread exempts all types of food that one eats after it, and wine exempts all types of drinks that one drinks after it, and one need not recite a blessing either before or after eating them. So, the blessing over wine exempts all drinks. This is the halacha. The blessing over wine exempts all other drinks from the requirement to recite a blessing either before or after drinking them. This is true for drinks which he had in mind, or drinks were before him when he recited the blessing before drinking. Amar Papa Hilchata Dvarim Abaim Chamata Suda B'toch Suda Ein Tu'nim Bracha Lo Lifneim V'lo Lachareihem. Summarizing, Rav Papa said that the halacha is like this: food items that come during the meal, which are eaten together with the bread as part of the meal. During the meal they don't require a blessing before or after them, as they are considered secondary to the bread. Shalom Achmata Suda B'toch Suda Tu'nim Bracha Lifneim V'ein Tu'nim Bracha Lachareihem. However, food items like fruits that do not come due to the meal as part of the meal, but may be brought during the meal, requiring a blessing before eating them, but do not require a blessing after eating them. Lachar Suda Tu'nim Bracha Ben Lifneim Ben Lachareihem. However, if they come after the meal, they require both a blessing before eating them and a blessing after eating them. Shalu ben Zoma mipnei ma amru dvarim aba'im mechamat suda b'toch suda einam tunim bracha v'lo lifneim v'lo lachareim. The Gemara relates to how the students asked Ben Zoma, why did the sages say that food items that come due to the meal during the meal neither require a blessing before eating them nor a blessing after eating them? He said to them, Amar lahem ho'il ufat potertan. He said, because the bread exempts them. So they asked, Ihachi yayinami niftere fat. So they said, so the wine, bread should also exempt the wine. If you make a blessing over the bread, you should not have to make a blessing over the wine that comes during the meal. The Gemara responds, Shaini yayin de gorem bracha la'atzmo. Wine is different as it causes a blessing itself. It is so significant that one recites a blessing over it together with other blessings like Kiddush and Havdalah. So wine is special, so wine would have a special blessing, even after you made a blessing over the bread. Even though he does not particularly want to drink it, he has special rituals connected with it. During the meal too, a blessing is recited over the wine and is not exempted by the blessing over the bread.